Hi, welcome back. I'm Sarah DeCiccio. I'm a certified holistic health coach. I'm the founder of Finding Your Well Spot, and I'm also partnered with USANA Health Sciences. So this week I was asked to show maybe some substitutions for those who are trying to make healthier choices. Maybe you've been diagnosed with food sensitivities, or maybe you're just trying to replace some of the foods that you've been eating to see if you're going to be feeling better. Maybe you're doing an elimination diet. So my family, unfortunately, we do have a lot of food sensitivities, so we've had to be a little bit more creative. Now, if you're just beginning, I encourage you to just stay the path, because at first I know it can be really challenging, it can be overwhelming, but then afterwards, once you kind of get into a groove and you know what products you're looking for, it can be actually really easy and it becomes second nature. It truly does. Because I know I used to be overwhelmed too, and now I'm like, oh, this is easy. So if you live in a small town like I do, it's difficult to have everything at the stores, maybe in your local area. So buy what you can locally. And then, of course, if you are gonna go make a big trip to a health food store or Costco or wherever you may be shopping for some of these products, I always keep a list on my phone, so I know when I'm going to the city or wherever I'm going that I can actually collect what I need to be collecting. And a lot of it lasts for a long time. So for baking, I always say stay away from processed sugars, especially artificial sweeteners. They are detrimental to your body. Sugar is always detrimental to your body, even if it's natural, so of course you want to do everything in moderation, even if it is a natural sugar, but of course a natural sweetener is so much better for you than the processed or artificial sweeteners. So I do use a lot of dates. I like using dates, especially if I'm making like energy balls or some kind of cookies sometimes. Even when I make any of my nut milks, I use dates a lot to sweeten them because they work wonderfully. So dates I always have on hand. If you're doing any baking and you want to add some moisture to the baking, or when I make my own chocolate, because I'm a chocolate freak, like I love chocolate. So I try to make my own chocolate most of the time, and I keep it in the freezer, so when I feel like a piece, I just grab a chunk, and it's so much more satisfying than the stuff you would buy at the store. It truly is. And plus you're controlling how much sweetener or sugar is actually going into the chocolate. And personally, I think it tastes better. So I make my own chocolate, or I'll use cacao butter to make my own chocolate, or to add moisture to some of my baking. It's actually really delicious and so creamy. Cacao powder, we've talked about this before in some of my other videos. It is way better than cocoa powder. Cocoa powder is more processed, so you're losing all the great nutrients and antioxidants, where cacao powder isn't processed like that, so you have all the goodness in it still, and it tastes delicious. So I make hot chocolate out of this, chocolate cakes, cupcakes, whatever you want to use cocoa powder in. I even use it in my smoothies in the morning, because again, I'm a chocolate freak. I love to have chocolate shakes in the morning, so I'll add that. If you're like my husband and unfortunately cannot eat chocolate, then you can try carob powder. Carob powder is a replacement for chocolate, which most people can tolerate. I've tried it a few times. It's personally not my favorite because, of course, I'm chocolate. I love chocolate, but my husband didn't mind it. So if you are, intolerant or sensitive to chocolate and you need a replacement, you can always try carob powder. That could be something that you can give a try. Forgot to show you these. If you're doing chocolate chip cookies or whatever kind of baking and you need dairy-free chocolate chips, you can actually buy dairy-free chocolate chips. It's from the Enjoy Life brand. That's what we use. You can get these small little mini ones. You can get bigger chunks as well. For sugar replacements, one of our go-tos quite often is coconut sugar. I love coconut sugar. It's inexpensive too, and again, it's a natural sweetener that's not going to spike your insulin levels as much. Xylitol can be used as well. It's very iffy if your digestive system isn't working super great, but actually it's a really good, if you swish it in your mouth like mouthwash, it will cleanse your mouth that way. So it's really good that way. If you look in some toothpastes, they will have xylitol because it does detoxify your mouth that way. So you can give it a try. If you're using some and you end up getting diarrhea, then you know maybe it's not for you, but you can always try it. My family uses it, and we seem to do fine with it. If you do have pets, though, I will say xylitol is toxic to dogs for sure. So make sure if you do have a dog, it does not go near xylitol. Another sweetener you can use as well is stevia. Stevia is like, you just need a few drops. Like, it is super sweet. It's like 100 times sweeter than sugar. So honestly, sometimes you just need a drop. If you're trying to cut sugar out of your coffee, you can just put a drop of stevia instead, and the pounds will just melt right off. Especially if you drink a lot of sugar in your coffee, it's not a great way to start your day. But if you're missing the sweetness, you can always try the stevia. It's a great replacement that way. In baking, if you can't use eggs, I feel for you because I'm the same way. Can't use eggs. We use chia seeds to replace eggs. So you would do 1 teaspoon of chia seeds to 3 tablespoons of hot water to make 1 egg. That's a great replacement. I do a lot of it in baking. If you're making like a white cake or something, you can always buy the white chia seeds so it doesn't like mess with the color of your cake. You can try that. I use guar gum a lot in my gluten-free flours to get it a little bit more stickier as well. We use flax seeds. I grind them up, and I also use that as an egg replacement. So 1 tablespoon of flax seeds to 3 tablespoons of boiling water will make you 1 egg. So that's different. It's 1 teaspoon of chia seeds, but it's 1 tablespoon of flax seeds. Chia seeds just absorb way more liquid. Gelatin's also another one I use a lot too. If I'm making puddings and stuff, I'll use gelatin because again, that's just going to gel whatever you're making as well, and replace the eggs in whatever you're making. If you can't have dairy like butter and stuff, that's a tough one too. I know, because we can't. I use a lot of ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, so it takes out all the lactose and the casein protein that you would normally react to, and you're just left with the clarified good fats of the butter. So most people do really well with this. We do really well with it if you want to try the ghee. Coconut oil is another one. Olive oil is another one too. Avocado oil is a great oil to use. Coconut oil, you want to make sure that you are buying organic, cold pressed, and unrefined. You don't want to buy refined because then again, all of the good nutrients of the coconut oil is taken out. So you want to make sure you buy unrefined coconut oil. There's also other things that you can start using, like this one is a coconut oil that has a butter flavor. You could always try that out if you want to stick with the coconuts instead of using ghee. And then we also have coconut manna, which is also coconut butter. You can use that in a lot of different bakings, or you can add as a thickener to some of the things that you might be making as well. So you can try that out. I use a lot of nutritional yeast sometimes, and I'm trying to make a creamy sauce that tastes more like cheese. Nutritional yeast is a great replacement for that to make any cheese sauces. Soy sauce is a big one. If you're intolerant or sensitive to soy, you could use tamari. Tamari is a wheat-free soy sauce, so if you're gluten-free, you can use tamari if you're not sensitive to soy. But tamari still has soy in it. So we're gluten-free and soy-free, so we like to use coconut aminos. It is basically from the sap of the coconut, and it's actually really delicious. It's great in Asian dishes. Just add a little bit of salt maybe to it because it's a bit sweeter. So if you add a bit of salt to it, not so sweet. So we use this all the time. I love using it. So anywhere where it calls for soy sauce in anything, I always replace it with coconut aminos, and it's worked great. For baking, again, there's so many different gluten-free flours. I even found out the other day that they're making banana flour. Like they're drying bananas and making flour out of that. So that will be another gluten-free type of flour that will be available soon, if not already. I haven't seen it yet, but they're talking about it already in the holistic arena. So that's pretty exciting. I can't wait to try that. Almond flour is great if you're against grains. So if you can't use a brown rice, a white rice flour, then usually you would go to like a nut flour. So almond flour is really great. There's a difference. There's almond flour, which would not have, it's like made from blanched almonds, so it doesn't have the skin. So they grind it up really thin. It's great in baking. Almond meal still has the skin on it that they grind up, so it's a little bit more coarse. It doesn't work as well in baking, but it's super great if you want to bread some chicken or fish with it. You can use it as a replacement that way. Coconut flour is one you got to be so careful with because it absorbs so much moisture. You cannot do a 1-to-1 ratio because it will not work out. So it does do well in baking, but make sure you follow a recipe, because even a teaspoon extra can totally wreck whatever you're making, because that's how absorbent coconut flour is. So learn from me, because I don't like to measure, and trust me, it's not good when you don't measure out the coconut flour. If you're looking for something to thicken, so if you can't have a cornstarch because you're intolerant to corn, like we are, or you can't use flour to maybe thicken up a gravy or whatever you're trying to eat, we use either arrowroot flour, which I don't have here right now. Arrowroot flour is a great thickener. It's easier to digest, or you can use tapioca flour. It's not as easy to digest, but a lot of people still use it, especially if you're going grain-free or you can't use a potato starch. Arrowroot flour or tapioca flour are two great substitutions for that. So we use a lot of that to do a lot of thickening of anything that we're using. And if you really do want to mess around mixing up different flours, I do that all the time. I use a white rice, brown rice, potato, and tapioca starch kind of mix for my overall gluten-free flour blend. But you could also experiment. You can do like an organic buckwheat flour. You can try that. Buckwheat, don't be fooled by the name, it's actually from the rhubarb plant, so it is definitely gluten-free. You can try that out. It's great in pancakes, I know that. I've used it in pancakes before. And teff flour, if you want to try that out. Some people do well with it. I don't even know why I bought this, because I know my husband cannot have teff, but I thought maybe I would try it out for me and the kids. I have not tried it in anything yet, but there are, just like I said, so many different flours out there that you can actually experiment with and see what works for you, what do you digest well, and what taste do you actually like to. If you're just starting, I know the taste might be a little bit different, especially, you know, when we're used to eating the same things all the time, it can be not as satisfying at first, but once you keep going, I prefer a lot of the gluten-free stuff over the regular stuff now. And I grew up on the regular stuff, including, like, you know, if you have milk all the time and now you're switching to nut milks, and of course they have a different flavor. There's almond, cashew, coconut milk in a can, which is really great. You can make whipped cream out of coconut milk by using the fat portion, like the cream part, in a can. I can show you that one day too. So this video is getting to be really long. There's so many substitutions out there. Don't be afraid of trying new things, because honestly, once you start shopping and looking, you'll be like, wow, there's actually a lot of substitutions out there for me. And if you need some guidance, definitely reach out to me. I love teaching people about this kind of stuff, so come to me. I'm more than willing to help. If you're looking for different food ideas, again, I'm partnered with USANA Health Sciences. Every day I have a shake, and I always mix up my proteins, whether it's a whey protein, soy, or plant-based protein. They have delicious shakes, 0 sugar, so that's really fantastic, especially if you are trying to maintain your weight or lose weight. Sugar is what makes you fat. So there's a lot of great food choices out there to really support your journey. And again, I'm here to support you as well. So follow me, check me out on my website, www.findingyourwellspot.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Sarah DeCiccio, Finding Your Well Spot, YouTube, and Instagram at Finding Your Well Spot. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you again next week.